We talk a lot about collaboration, but there's not a lot of examples of true collaboration where we're actually in it for the betterment of young people rather than for what's in it for ourselves. We're starting to see some of the breaking down of those silos, but we've got a long way to go before we really lean in. We're not here to make sure that my brand looks great to a politician.
Motivated individuals that are starting charities every single day, maybe the passion is pursuing them beyond understanding that there's this whole other skill set, and whatever skill set feels a little more challenging to grasp, that's ultimately probably going to lead to the burnout.
What the foundation offers is that these brands still have so much of their autonomy and the juice of what makes them who they are and the impact that they started to create in the first place. They get to keep that and maintain that with the support of the foundation.
For 6 years, it'd been me alone. And now we're probably 12 to 18 months away from me being able to step away from Weiler completely and for it to exist and continue to grow and thrive into the future and have greater impact.
Podclass acknowledges the traditional and true custodians of the land we meet on here today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We're grateful to be here.
So no one told you teaching was gonna be this way. Your lesson plans are jokes, your patience broke, you're feeling in disarray. It's like you're always stuck in report writing, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your school year. But I'll be here for you
When the students start to riot,
I'll be here for you.
even if your coffee has gone cold,
I'll be here for you, 'cause you're there for them too.
Hello and welcome back to Podclass. You're joined as always by your host, Skye, that would be me.
Amanda, that would be me.
and hello, I am Will still.
And today, hi Will still, and today we are actually joined by a very special human to all of us in the studio
Very
today.
special. We have a
Very,
friend
very
in the
excited
room.
to have him in the room.
We have one friend. Oh my gosh.
And his name is Andy Skidmore. Welcome.
Hello. I'm so grateful to be here. Very excited.
It's been a long time coming. I feel like we've been talking about having you on the potty basically since
The
episode
last
1.
55 episodes.
And finally, we are all, the stars have aligned.
We're in
all
the same city at the same time
to make it happen.
We've done it.
It's a once-a-year occurrence.
It is.
Once every 2 years even.
This is the one on the Youth Impact Foundation.
And the Youth Impact Foundation, that's kind of a big deal, right? In your world, Andy?
Yeah, it pretty much dominates 24/7 of my life. So I'm excited to speak about it.
Amazing. And the Youth Impact Foundation isn't just really important to you, it's really important to the three of us as well. And it's really provided a platform for us to amplify what we do in Youth Leadership Academy Australia and in Youth Engagement Project. And it really is an incredibly unique and innovative solution for the youth landscape. So maybe we could just start by you kind of giving a bit of an introduction of what the Youth Impact Foundation is, and then we might actually go into a bit of a back end because it's so fascinating.
And we would ask you this because, Andy, you are actually happen to be the CEO of that foundation. So we would assume that you have a lot of knowledge.
Otherwise
of this
known
area.
as the big dog of the foundation.
That's not my official title, but yes. I hope I have a bit of knowledge. Yeah.
So if you want to start maybe with what is the Youth Impact Foundation, and probably for those listening to understand a little bit more of the model and the purpose behind why the foundation exists.
Yeah, so the Youth Impact Foundation was founded in 2022, so not that long ago. I was fortunate enough since 2014 to be running a charity called Burn Bright that was running leadership and wellbeing programs in high schools and primary schools across Australia. And in 2021, I met a philanthropist whose name was Larry, and Larry and I brought into the room 10 youth charities to try and work out how we'd collaborate better together. And as a result of working together across a year, we built the model of the Youth Impact Foundation that is a model of kind of how it stands now, but essentially the idea that if we could reduce the duplication that existed between youth charities that were trying to make a difference in young people's lives, we could amplify the impact.
And so I guess it's, you came together in a room, you explored for a year, how could you collaborate better? And my guess is a lot of those conversations wound up leading to the barriers and challenges that get in the way of collaborating better. Is that right?
Yeah, and the barriers and challenges that small organizations that were making an impact were facing. Things like a lack of succession planning, things like being burnt out and tired, things like trying to run an impactful program but having to chase funding and philanthropy rather than delivering a program.
And I guess guess if we could strip it back to basics, I love all of this, but if we could strip it back to basics, if we are like, if our listeners are listening to this and they have no idea really about the charity sector, how many charities even exist in the space?
Isn't that something like 7 a day new charities exist?
Yeah, I think the number's about 4 a day, but
in Australia alone.
Yeah, there's about 80,000, I think the last number was. But out of that,
think
there's
we have about a charity for every 1,000 young people.
Yeah, we're one of the highest per capita countries of charity per person, which, you know, in one frame could be a great thing. But in another sense, there's only so many dollars to go around that can be donated to those charities. And what that leads to is a lot of fragmentation and duplication between charities who have got similar visions and missions and purposes, trying to do the same thing, but then duplicating their overheads and their resources and their time, rather than all trying to be aligned and to make our dollars go further.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had the vision. We spent a year. How do we collaborate better? And that led us to let's develop a model, and it's called the Youth Impact Foundation. What actually is the model? And we know its mission is to reduce duplication, increase collaboration. How does it actually look, and how are we involved in it?
Yeah, great question. So the Youth Impact Foundation, our broad vision is that we believe every young person deserves to thrive. And we're really focused on young people who are experiencing disadvantage, but also all young people. We believe that mental health challenges that are experienced by young people don't discriminate based upon postcode or socioeconomic status. But we also believe that young people who are experiencing disadvantage miss out on opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't get access to.
100%.
And so the Youth Impact Foundation creates change in 2 ways. One is by delivering programs to young people. In 2024, we worked with 160,000 young people across the Youth Impact Foundation in over 1,000 schools. But
Big
schools and
Pretty
teachers
impressive
have probably never heard of us
And
before.
it was about 1,000 programs, I think, as well,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, just under 1,000
or
programs.
something,
So
yeah.
And schools have never heard of them.
a big scale and footprint. But yeah, schools would have never heard of us before because
Here's the big.
Because a second part of the way that we create change is through collaboration and consolidation. And so the collaboration and consolidation piece is where we're finding and talking to and working alongside founders of youth charities that were once standing alone on their own, delivering great programs, who after a bit of a process of getting to know each other, merge into the Youth Impact Foundation. And I'm really proud to say that we now have 10 brands that were once standalone organizations in some way or form that are now part of the Youth Impact Foundation.
And some of these
Two
you
of
may
which.
know of. Some of these
Some
you
of
may
which
know of as Youth Engagement
yeah.
Project and Youth Leadership Academy Australia. And I guess we're both very proud to be, as TYF is what we call as an acronym, as the home of our brands. And I, just before you were mentioning it's like founders are burnt out or there's no succession planning, it's like you described exactly what Weiler was before integration into the foundation. And
What has it meant for you, Will? Like being a part of the foundation now, like you're literally a living example, as is Yep, of seeing the foundation in practice, like seeing the model working. What does it mean for you?
It was so interesting. And I always say this story of like Andy asked me a question, it was probably 2 years ago, of where do you see, what's the vision for Weiler? And I would always say like, 3 or 4 years in, they would come back to me and bounce back of like, no, where is it in 100 years? And what I believe is 18 months after integration, Weiler is at a place where it will exist to the future beyond me. There are the systems, is the structure, and there's the processes in the back end to be able to make Weiler a sustainable organization that's no longer just reliant on me. It's as a team, we have the same accounts team. I hate accounts. We could have learned that very fast.
Just to clarify, Will doesn't hate the accounts team.
No, just zero in general. And I was in this state of like, for 6 years, it had been me alone and everything had relied on me. And then now we're at a point where we're probably 12 to 18 months away from me being able to step away from Weiler completely and for it to exist and continue to grow and thrive into the future and have greater impact.
And so there's a few pieces here, right? So one thing is you've touched on succession planning. Oh my gosh, there's a succession plan in place. What are the other, because I know there's
Because I was at the point, and you know very well, Amanda, I was at the point
I
of like, I was like, I have a year left,
genuinely
I have 2 years left and then I'm done.
Yes.
And what would have happened to Weiler once I was done?
Well,
And
See ya.
it would have folded.
And
exactly.
not to make Weiler like the textbook case study, right? But for Andy, like, is this these are the stories, right, that we're hearing in the youth space from these people who start charities with the best intention in mind to support young people?
Team, thank you so much for listening to Podclass. We are just jumping in here quickly to let you know that the Youth Leadership Academy Australia National Tour Registrations are now open for both our primary and secondary conferences in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. Get in quick and we will see you there.
Yeah, and the thing that really motivates me around the Youth Impact Foundation is this idea that really good programs can stop running because we lack sustainability across the sector. So I think we always need to separate the running of an organisation and the running of good program delivery, because those two things are often unaligned. People will often start a charity, in Will's case, because he was really passionate about the work of WILA, of Youth Leadership Academy Australia, but ultimately was wanted to do more of the work and less of the running of the organisation. And I think we see that occurring time and time again. And I remember in my early 20s, we were working in Cobar, Canamble, Burke, Western New South Wales, and young people out there would see programs come and go because they lack sustainability and they'd lose trust. And one of the great parts about the Youth Impact Foundation model is that we have got now 10 brands that are all integrated. But if you were to go and talk to one of those brands, you'd think that you're talking to that brand. You'd think you're talking to Wiley. You think you're talking to Yep. You think you're talking to Burnbright. You think you're talking to Attitude or whoever else it might be. And that's the beauty of it, that we get to maintain what the founder and the charity had created once before, but give it a platform to create greater sustainability, greater longevity, so that those programs can exist for as long as young people need them to.
And I think you make such a great point that development and delivery of exceptional programs and running the back end of a business are actually two exceptionally and distinctly different things that demand different skill sets. And for our incredible, passionate, motivated individuals that are starting charities every single day, maybe there isn't the awareness, or maybe the passion is pursuing them, you know, beyond understanding that there's this whole other skill set. And whatever skill set comes naturally and whatever skill set is maybe feels a little more challenging to grasp, that's the one that's ultimately probably going to lead to the burnout or the frustration. Like you will, you hate accounting, right? And so it's like that was always the thing and that griped you. And I did really enjoy those phone calls, to be quite frank, where you would call me and but we need more sustainability, because if you need both elements of the business to be working and to be exceptional for it to have longevity.
And I think such a great part of what the foundation offers is that these brands still have so much of their autonomy and the juice of what makes them who they are and the impact that they started and to want to create in the first place. They get to keep that and maintain that with the support of the foundation. I know I've heard you talk about it, Andy, as the foundation being kind of like Coca-Cola before, and it's like Coke is like the overarching,
just
the big brand. Way healthier and way better for your teeth. But it's like that big overarching brand, right? And there's all these little subsidiary labels and things that sit within Coke that Coke owns. And the foundation does the same thing in supporting all of these charities and all of these, amazing programs.
Yeah, and that's how we built it. So it's called a consumer goods model. And most of the time when we're buying products off the shelf, we're actually buying from the same company, but we don't even realize it.
I love your metaphor of the toothpaste aisle.
Yeah, the toothpaste aisle. Like you walk down the toothpaste aisle and you realize that you're buying a toothpaste that is meaningful for you, but actually in reality, that toothpaste is all owned by Unilever or whatever other company it might be, Procter & Gamble. And what we realized as we were building the Youth Impact Foundation model, we were talking to young people and asking them what made programs important and what made them important for them. And they said, if a program's going to create change, we need to trust it. And the way we trust it is by having a brand that we recognize, because we know that brand can build emotional safety, it builds support. And when that brand turns up to my school or my community or that person's wearing that T-shirt and I recognize it, whether it's a teacher or a young person, then that trust is really critical to creating change. And so it's a key element of our model.
And we've heard that, right, in facilitator stories of facilitators who work within the foundation. And we might have a facilitator that goes in representing whether it's WILA or a Burnbright, and they're seeing a student maybe because they've been a part of that school community now for 3, 4, 5 years. And they're seeing a young person essentially transition throughout their high school experience as well. Like that's a pretty special thing.
And I think it's important to like make the difference between what we do different to the toothpaste aisle is that most toothpastes will do the same thing, but all of our brands service a different young person or a young person in a different way.
Or a different gap in the landscape.
Yeah,
absolutely. And distinctly. And you know what the sustainability and the back end of the foundation allows all of these brands to do is we have someone who specifically looks at the research and the back end of our programs, and we make sure they are distinctly different. We make sure they're serving distinctly different purposes, and that's really important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really important for me that we can reach all young people where they're at. You know, when I was a CEO of just Burnbright, I recognized and realized really quickly that one program or one brand or one charity isn't the solution to every young person's challenges and needs. But one program, one brand will have a meaning to one young person. And so actually a diversity of program delivery into our schools and into our communities is really critical for creating change and is really important in terms of how we create change. All of our programs, like you said, Amanda, are evidence-based and evidence aligned. And we not only use our evidence to build our programs, but also measure our impact. And that's really important. And we're able to measure our impact across all of our brands in a common way. But at the same time, all of our brands to deliver their programs differently, have got slightly different messages, but at the bottom of that are all values aligned. So for schools working with a Youth Impact Foundation brand, they know they can trust the quality, they know they can trust the evidence, they know they can trust the delivery style and the engagement of that brand. And that's one of the unique parts about our model, that we've got expert communicators working across multiple brands, creating an impact.
And I guess this is perhaps then when one of the challenges comes in, because I know, and I mean, it's something for Amanda and I, integrating Youth Engagement Project was a no-brainer. We looked at the support that the foundation provides, is what we've been experiencing since integration, and we love being part of the foundation. But we also
In case you didn't know.
I'm glad. We're getting worried for a second.
But we also know, we spoke about at the top of the episode, the number of new charities that are formed, people that go out with these really good intentions. And we also know that sometimes there's a lot of ego that can be behind or can sit behind the decision to want to
we're into
I know
this.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's sticky, right? But I'm thinking, okay, so I'm someone who has decided to, I've seen a need in the youth landscape. I'm a CEO. I've decided to create this charity to go out and run school wellbeing programs or whatever it might be. And then suddenly I struggle because I don't have enough money within my charity to have an accounting team. I can't put a marketing person on. I'm doing suddenly all of these things as one person or a 2-person skeleton team. But then that ego piece is still there, right? Would you consider that is a challenge, like if you're looking to integrate charities or from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge we got when the model was just a concept was how likely a charity founder is going to be to hand over their baby.
Literally, I felt like I was putting my child up for adoption with visitation rights.
of the
You
thing
signed
they've
the papers
created.
now. It's done.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Let go, Will.
Okay.
But what we realized was that actually this was an opportunity for charity founders to carry on their legacy in a more sustainable, practical way. And we've had to turn away more organizations than we've accepted because we want to be really clear and specific and really straightforward, I guess, on who we integrate to make sure that there is a good cultural fit, to make sure that there is a good program impact, make sure there is a good economic model that sits behind their charity.
Yeah, it's not just like, hey, anyone's welcome, free for all.
Yeah.
There's a really strict due diligence process.
Yeah,
It has to-
exactly.
That's another element, because I wouldn't say that my reluctance was because of ego, it's because of trust, right? There's that, like, how do you build trust in the foundation's model to people who have no idea who you are?
Yeah, and I say that our integration and due diligence process operates at the speed of trust, and the speed of trust operates at the speed of our relationships and connections. And so the more relationships and connections, the more trust we build, the faster that we can do that, then the more we get to know each other. But also the more that brands and charities hear from your experience of what it's like being a part of the foundation. It's not all perfect, and there's things that we work out together, and at the end of the day, we're kind of on this journey building a new model that no one's ever built before, that we're all trying to work out together, and we don't always get it right. But that's what I love about our model. I love that we're all kind of in it together, that we're all trying to work it out. And I think that back to that ego point, that if ego is to play, then I think that we've got a great team that manages those egos in a really great way, because at the end of the day, we're all motivated by creating change, and we're all motivated by making an impact on young people. And when we bring it back to the main thing, when we make the main thing, then that is really important to how we create change. And I think when you boil ego down, it's really that people think that what they have is going to create change, and they're really passionate about it.
And it's reframing, right?
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot in this idea and the difference between this idea of significance and contribution. And are you coming from a place of seeking significance from others and the need to feel self-important, or are you coming from a place of contribution? And ego can still drive contribution. It's just the way that we frame it and the way that we talk about it.
There's something that the four of us have chatted about quite a lot when it comes to the youth landscape, and I feel like we're doing our very best collaboratively to break it down, and that is how much gatekeeping has existed historically in our youth landscape around knowledge, around content. And it's like, oh, you're my competitor, or we're fighting for the same funding, or, you know, we're against each other. And that has been the case for so long with so many charities and so many organizations. And if we look at the history of how things have been operating and currently where our youth landscape sits, I mean, we have more charities than ever before. We have more funding, although we're fighting for it. We have more funding than ever before. We have more exceptional people and more access to knowledge and information. And yet the state of our young people is still declining. So therefore, some of the ways we've been doing it are clearly not working. No. So change is a must. And so the admiration for building a new model and giving it a go is huge. And as you say, it doesn't exist yet. So we're working it out as we go, and you and the executive and the board and all of us as brands within the foundation are working it out as we go. But also I think to really address this point of the fact that gatekeeping isn't getting us anywhere in this space. Like, what do you think about that?
No, I think that the issue is that we talk a lot about collaboration in our space, but there's not a lot of examples of true collaboration where we're actually in it for the betterment of young people rather than in it for what's in it for ourselves. And I think that what we've seen through the Youth Impact Foundation model and other models working on collaborations that are starting to emerge, collaborations like Together for Youth, we're starting to see some of the breaking down of those silos. But I still think we've got a long way to go before we really lean in and we appreciate that we're here to make an impact on young people. We're not here to put ourselves in jobs or to be employable or to make sure that my brand looks great to a politician or something like that. We need to keep young people as a center. And when we do that, the collaboration makes a lot more sense.
And I think just to wrap up, let's zoom out and zoom back into how the lessons from the foundation relate to us as teachers and educators within the classroom.
Love.
Collaboration is the first point to be able to get to an outcome that we desire.
Because gatekeeping happens everywhere. It's not just org to org, it's classroom to classroom, it's program to program. And so when we release that and lean into collaboration, we're enhancing opportunity for the young people we serve.
I also think it comes back to being curious rather than judging what's going on around us.
100%.
And this is something new. This is a model that hasn't happened before. We haven't seen this before in this landscape. And so people that can create fear for some people, right? It's the same thing, whether you're an educator or you're a parent. Sometimes the way that something has always been done doesn't mean it's the way that things should continue to go. And I think that the foundation really challenges that, and that it reminds us that it's okay to lean into change and to get curious about what could be.
And I love, just like you say, Will, Andy asked you, no, I'm not asking where YLAR is in 2 years. I'm asking where YLAR is in 100 years. And so if you're listening to this and you're really curious about the foundation, you know that you can learn more online, the Youth Impact Foundation, or you can reach out to us, to Skye and I at Youth Engagement Project, or Will at YLAR, and ask questions.
Add Andy on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Add the big dog. And let's go from there, because I mean, we are in this. If you are listening to this podcast, chances are you are in this for impacting young people. And the way we've been doing things, clearly there has to be some change. And so it's really exciting to be on this journey with you, Andy, on a journey of building a path that hasn't been forged before. How scary and how exciting.
We're incredibly proud to be joining you in this vision. And I know that we'll be talking about vision with you in our next episode as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very grateful for the three of you as well for the support you've shown to the Youth Impact Foundation and how we're building this together. And that's really exciting for me.
Trust moves at the speed of the room. What was it?
Speed of relationships. Speed of relationships.
Speed of the room.
Close.
Excellent.
We are Podclass. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
I'll be here for you, 'cause you're there for them too.
Thanks so much for tuning into Podclass. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would adore it if you could go on to Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave us a review. 5 stars would be lovely. We would love to get this podcast into as many ears as possible so we can help and support as many people as possible who help young people. And if you're not already doing so, please go along to Instagram and follow us at podclass.aus.